Emmanuel Hostin, the husband of The View host Sunny Hostin, has been accused of widespread insurance fraud, and Sunny basically admitted to it on camera. Let's talk about it.
Like my husband, operates on someone even though they don't have insurance, and then has to sue health insurance companies to get paid for the work that he's been trained his whole life.
True sign of the apocalypse is someone that dumb has a law degree. So that makes Sunny Hostin, who thinks climate change caused the solar eclipse, the dumbest of them.
Sunny Hostin just got slammed by a legal tidal wave. And guess who's having a field day? That's right, Greg Gutfeld and Kat Timpf are roasting her harder than a Thanksgiving turkey. With a subpoena in hand and her husband's jaw-dropping $450 million fraud case making headlines, the jokes are flying faster than offshore wire transfers. This scandal is the gift that keeps on giving, and the punchlines, even richer than the alleged hidden accounts. What Gutfeld and Timpf just said will leave you questioning reality. And probably calling your lawyer.
You look tantalizing. You know, I make fun of The View a lot, but that's only because they keep talking. Because COVID also taught Sunny Hostin how to get her groceries delivered.
3 years, that's when I discovered Instacart, and I give them a big tip because they don't always pay their people well, and it's so that's been an issue, I think, for the company. But man, you can get toiletries, you can get fire logs.
Fire logs? She had to tell the audience that she tips big because even she knows she sounds insufferable.
Dr. Emmanuel Manny Hostin, an orthopedic surgeon and husband of The View co-host Sunny Hostin, is accused in December lawsuit fraudulently billing insurance. By the way, this is a Daily Caller story I'm reading. The lawsuit alleges Hostin knowingly provided fraudulent medical and other healthcare services in exchange for kickbacks and or compensation, and names him among nearly 200 defendants in one of New York's largest RICO cases.
Sunny Hostin probably woke up thinking it was just another day to play judge, jury, and moral overlord on The View. You know, the usual. A sprinkle of self-righteousness, a dash of elitist eye rolls, and a full-course serving of unsolicited lectures for the American public. But surprise, the universe had other plans. Just as she was busy preaching about ethics, justice, and how the rest of us just don't measure up to her intellect, bam, the headlines hit like karma's gavel. Her husband is now caught up in a fraud case so massive, it makes Bernie Madoff look like a kid running a sketchy lemonade stand.
Just want to hit myself in the face so I can feel something. You know, it's like so boring. He's like, yeah, I like Instacart, but don't worry, I tip the poors. But, you know, Joy, you actually don't like Instacart and you do like the store. And then Joy is like, yeah, I do. I like to go to the store. I like to walk around and see what's at the store, what I do want, what I don't want. Maybe I want tuna fish and I just want to hit my...
And Greg and Kat? Oh, they devoured it. Gutfeld was practically licking his fingers after each punchline, treating the scandal like dry-aged hypocrisy carved tableside. This wasn't just another segment, it was a full-blown gourmet roast, plated on fine china and drizzled with a rich, smug reduction. As for Kat, one glance at the headline, and she laughed like someone who's been hoarding receipts for this very moment.
View. It's become like a medical hospital that displays human misfailure. Like it's like here, let's look at this political oddity. You know, it's like, it really is like the left-wing equivalent of a carnival sideshow, except instead of bearded ladies and fat clowns and two-headed cows. Well, let me rephrase that. But The View is a victim of the sunk cost fallacy. You know, how can you now speak the truth and when for years you've been telling lie after lie after lie? Now you're carrying this big bag of rocks around you because it's too harmful for their ego to admit that we really were dishonest. And they could be honest. All they would have to say is, look, we hate Trump so much. We were willing to lie about Joe Biden because we felt he was preferable. We thought our lying and our cover-up was on your behalf. Just say that. You're still scum, but at least you're honest.
This wasn't breaking news to Kat. It was destiny in designer heels. She could barely hide her glee as Sunny's moral halo began to melt under the scorching spotlight of justice, revealing a sparkling crown of contradiction underneath. Let's be real. If hypocrisy were a luxury brand, The View would have franchised it. And Sunny, she'd be their top sales rep. You can't dish out daily diatribes about ethics, corruption, and righteousness, only to tiptoe off stage when you're own. Household starts looking like a deleted scene from The Wolf of Wall Street. Sorry, Sonny. That's not how moral high ground works.
Jizz Coven finally shows me some lovin'. Yesterday on The View, yours truly was the subject of conversation. Apparently the broads have no idea who I am, or so they say. Hit it, Gladys.
They said that Gutfeld talks about you all the time.
Who is he?
Really, who is he? I don't watch the show.
He has a show.
I don't watch the
never
show.
heard of him.
Yeah.
I guess he's just obsessed with me.
Next, Joy's gonna say she's never heard of carbs. Seriously, her denial of knowing me is as believable as her red hair. But obsession? I mean, come on, Joy. Where would you even get that idea? Like Joy Behar's face, it's looking worse and worse by the day. More full of crap than Joy Behar after a night of scotch and Taco Bell. Her being named Joy is like me being named ugly. Joy wasn't there on the show. Apparently Mondays are her days off when she feeds in the pasture. It now smells like a humid day inside Joy Behar's.
That's not a plot twist. That's a full-blown plot hole in a bad movie. Only this time, the script was written by Karma and edited by Gutfeld's writer's room. Greg didn't hold back, even joking that Sunny should debut a new segment called Allegedly Yours, where she delivers hot takes from the moral high ground while dodging subpoenas like dodgeballs. Kat, with her signature deadpan, chimed in, finally, a storyline on The View that's accidentally entertaining. If laughter really is the best medicine, then Greg and Kat just handed out a year's supply to anyone exhausted by The View's usual cocktail of doom, gloom, and unsolicited virtue. But this wasn't just mockery, it was a full-scale demolition. They didn't just revel in the scandal, they surgically dismantled the entire cathedral of self-importance that The View has spent years building, one overpriced, wobbly IKEA bookshelf at a time. And when that structure finally collapsed, under the weight of its own contradictions, Greg and Kat didn't blink. They just poured themselves a drink and toasted to poetic justice, served flaming hot. Greg didn't stop at sarcasm. He practically built a sarcasm slip and slide and invited the entire nation to glide through the smoldering wreckage of Sunny's credibility. He wielded irony like a tactical nuke, casually reminding everyone that Sunny had spent years perfecting the art of giving lectures so sanctimonious, they made Sunday sermons feel like TikTok trends.
All right, Kat, did you ever see such a group? It's amazing how Joy and Whoopi became the smart ones.
For me, the most shocking thing about the conversation was how truly boring it was. They're like, well, the cicadas, they're cicadas. Okay, but it was like every 100 years. No, it's every 17 years. Do you know how many Emmys this show has? 31.
31 Emmys.
This show has 31. I mean, I'd hate to see the conversations that don't make headlines.
Sunny's entire moral brand was sinking faster than a View panelist trying to explain economics without cue cards. And Greg? He strutted through the wreckage like a smug cat that knocked over a priceless vase, then casually blamed the dog. Kat looked like she was having the time of her life, watching the empire of self-righteousness crumble in real time. She didn't flinch, just leaned back with that signature half smirk that practically screamed, "Oh, this is gonna be fun!" Her disdain for The View is so thick, it deserves its own tax bracket. And Sunny? She's just the latest cautionary tale in a long, crumbling line of public figures who thought moral superiority came with diplomatic immunity. Kat broke it down like a science fair project gone spectacularly wrong. Observe how one woman's decades-long ethics cosplay completely collapses when real-world accountability peeks through the blinds like a repo man with a clipboard. She even mocked The View's tone, that odd mix of brunch gossip and courtroom drama, by suggesting their next segment be titled Financial Crimes and Finger Wagging, a Guide to Having It Both Ways. Brutal, precise, and hilarious.
Sausage maker Johnsonville is recalling more than 42,000 pounds of pork sausage for possible contamination with plastic fibers. Fortunately, authorities were able to track all 42,000 pounds to a single location in New York City.
Greg, never one to miss a golden punchline, floated the idea that Sunny's next appearance should include a spinning game show wheel. Today's hot topic: fraud, privilege, or selective outrage. Spin to find out what we're ignoring. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, the chaos must have looked like a live-action soap opera colliding with a crisis PR seminar taught by jittery interns. Picture it. Cue cards catching fire, teleprompters glitching from sheer cognitive dissonance, and frantic producers hissing into earpieces. For the love of ratings, someone bring up Meghan Markle. Anything to distract from the $450 million elephant doing cartwheels through our glass house of televised morality. And let's talk about those co-hosts for a second, the same crew who can smell a GOP parking ticket from 6 time zones away. But when it's one of their own caught in a multi-million-dollar financial scandal, suddenly it's all, let's respect her privacy, and we're focusing on love and light today. Translation, we've lawyered up and we're not touching. This with a Joy Behar monologue. Greg, of course, could barely contain his joy. This scandal was like handing a flamethrower to a man already juggling fireworks. And Kat? She looked like she was watching the season finale of her favorite reality show. Except in this version, even the fake houseplants are filing defamation suits.
No, I'm also not surprised that there's one part of the video from the show yesterday that you left out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, can we roll that, please?
I don't watch the show that much, but I've seen it.
Who is that? Who is that?
Greg Gutfeld's one of the hosts of The Five. Who, if I don't have anything nice to say, I generally don't say anything at all. I would just say this: the show should be called Kat Timpf, not Gutfeld, because she's the funny one on it.
Somebody's flirting with little Kat over here.
Well, she's the Republican one at the table, but I just think as a libertarian, I'm always looking to find common ground with other people because nobody really shares my politics. So I find some common ground in The View where she thinks I'm funny and I agree.
They knew this wasn't just a Sunny Hostin meltdown. It was an entire media ecosystem tripping over its own smugness and face-planting into a crater full of empty platitudes. While The View scrambled into full-blown damage control mode, Gutfeld and Timpf cranked their sarcasm engines into overdrive. Because when your show functions as a sanctimony factory and one of the founding supervisors gets roped into a $450 million fraud scandal, it's not just your credibility that tanks. It's your entire moral GPS. And Sunny's? That thing was clearly recalibrated to avoid Accountability Boulevard and take a hard left onto Deflection Lane. At this point, Greg and Kat weren't just criticizing a talk show, they were poking a bloated, gasping balloon of elite hypocrisy, just to hear it wheeze out the last dying puffs of self-righteousness. And America? America was watching from the front row, popcorn in hand, eagerly waiting to see how The View would try to spin this scandal without accidentally reinventing the definition of fiction. Naturally, Gutfeld took it a step further. He didn't just laugh at the situation, he framed it as a masterclass in accidental self-parody. He tore into The View's weekly sermons about how the right is corrupt, greedy, and basically evil incarnate. Yet here we are, with Sunny's squeaky clean persona melting into a courtroom drama worthy of primetime TV, her financial fairy tale shattered. And the only thing left is the awkward echo of moral lectures coming from a very cracked pedestal.
People have to wonder, where does Sunny Hostin get her opinions? Yeah. Like you said, and it's obviously from her husband. She has to tell her what to say in The View, because without it, she's got nothing up there. She's not very bright. But the problem with her is that she went full racist. She injected skin color into a fairly generic behavior seen in all spouses, regardless of skin color. People marry, they listen to each other, they have something in common with them, they share their political views. She just didn't want to upset her husband by saying her husband makes her do everything, and then she'd have to accuse him of being a racist. Because if he told her that this is what white women do, then he's a racist.
And the best part? The scale of the alleged fraud. We're not talking about a parking ticket or a misfiled tax return. This was the kind of jaw-dropping figure that makes Wall Street CEOs nod in villainous admiration. Kat, never one to miss. A chance to rip through the fourth wall of media hypocrisy, called out the stunning silence. Somehow, The View managed to completely sidestep their own co-host scandal. No heated panel debates, no thunderous music stings, just a quiet segue into the next topic, as if a $450 million fraud case was the equivalent of a wardrobe malfunction. Because, let's be real, if this had been anyone on the political right, Meghan McCain would have been tied to a stake and set ablaze live on ABC. Greg, with his signature smirk, couldn't resist. He quipped that it's like irony packed its bags, moved to Manhattan, and bought a front row seat to The View. And Kat? She delivered the final blow. The The cherry on top was the absolute silence from Sunny herself. No grand monologues, no teary-eyed soliloquies about justice and truth. Just a vanishing act worthy of Houdini.
You know who just stunk up the View. The Bidens joined the View this morning for the entire hour. The audience was caught off guard, but knew something was up when they saw a dozen Secret Service agents and 2 embalmers. There were a few awkward moments, though, when a confused Joe asked if he could bid on the showcase. But was he surprised?
Meanwhile, Greg cranked his sarcasm dial to 11 and practically fried the circuits. At that point, it wasn't commentary. It was performance art, with irony and tap shoes dancing across every square inch of Sunny's crumbling sanctimony. Did he suggest a GoFundMe for legal defense? Please, too cliche. Greg had a better idea. A nationwide popcorn fund. Because let's be honest, this saga has blockbuster energy, and the American public deserves front-row snacks while watching the SS Sanctimony take on water at record speed. And just when you thought the roast was over, Greg turned up the heat. Again. Sunny's next career move? Forget law, forget daytime TV. There's clearly a publishing deal waiting, a literary deep dive titled Contradiction, a Memoir. Because the hypocrisy here didn't just reek, it marinated. Here's a woman who built an entire public image on legal know-how and moral superiority, all while apparently living in a house where the financial documents had more plot twists than an M. Night Shyamalan film. And the View's response? A group hug and a round of selective amnesia. Because over there, accountability, much like common sense, is perpetually out of stock. Kat, never one to let absurdity go unroasted, jumped in to remind everyone how the View once turned a minor conservative slip-up into a week-long ethics symposium. But when it's one of their own tangled in a $450 million fraud storm, cue the soft lighting, vague affirmations, and we're focusing on healing today.
Oh. That's not what I read. The true sign of the apocalypse is someone that dumb has a law degree. Worse, if your name has the word sun in it, there's no excuse for not knowing how an eclipse works. But it's no surprise that Joy is the one who understands science. She's been on the science diet for years. They're turning on me. So that makes Sunny Hostin, who thinks climate change caused the solar eclipse, the dumbest of them all. Because everyone knows the moon caused the eclipse, which is controlled by the View's gravitational pull.
But $450 million? Hey, let's circle back to Fashion Week, Kat joked. She even suggested they rename the show The Skew for its remarkable ability to twist anything uncomfortable into a round table of eye rolls and softball questions. Greg, always the showman, wrapped it up with the ultimate hypothetical. Imagine if I or Kat were even remotely connected to a fraud case of this magnitude. We'd be canceled faster than Joy Bihar's ability to let anyone finish a sentence. The Yanks' double standard wasn't just showing, it was doing cartwheels down Broadway. And let's not forget, this isn't the View's first scandal. No, this place is like a magnet for public blunders wrapped in righteous packaging. But this one took the cake, baked it with irony, and served it up on a silver platter of schadenfreude. Greg and Kat didn't just feast on it, they turned it into a 6-course meal of mockery, garnished with a side of "we told you so." But what made their takedown particularly delicious wasn't just the volume of the roast. It was the surgical precision. They didn't need to shout or rant. They simply highlighted the glaring absurdity of a moral crusader caught in a net woven from everything she's ever warned us about.
How many co-hosts has The View had since it first started? I've lost count. I don't know any of these people.
No, that's because they don't stick around long enough. There have been 17 since 1997. That's a lot. That's because they're women.
Oh, really?
Their hormones, they're changing their minds. I don't want to work here. Yes, I do. That's why. Women are always changing jobs every day.
Wow,
I just quit.
Direct mail to Catherine Timpf. Not me. I disavow everything.
And The View? They just kept spinning in circles, hoping the storm would blow over. Spoiler alert, it won't. Not while Greg and Kat have microphones and sarcasm receptors that are fully functional. The real takeaway here isn't just the scandal itself. It's what it reveals about the smug ecosystem that The View has carefully cultivated. A place where accountability is outsourced, double standards are imported, and reality gets spun like it's on a cable news washing machine cycle. While Sunny's legal team is likely practicing yoga to stay zen, the rest of us are just here for the comedy. Greg and Kat did what they do. Best, they exposed the hypocrisy, laughed in its face, and served it back to us with such flair, even the scandal itself felt like a sitcom. Except this time, the sitcom comes with a court date and a $450 million plot twist. In the end, The View may try to carry on like nothing happened, but thanks to Greg and Kat, this story has been permanently etched into the Hall of Hypocrisy, framed under the bold headline Sunnyside Fraud. No matter how much makeup, lighting, or spin The View throws at it, the facts and the jokes aren't going anywhere. And you better believe Greg and Kat will be right there when the sequel drops.